Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of C-PTSD on the Road to Recovery with Pop Woodman, Healing Later in Life. Today, I want to talk to you about avoidance behaviors and the things we do to avoid social situations and so on, and also negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. So, we'll start with avoidance behaviors. These are coping mechanisms for pain, trauma, and other mental issues as well. This is how people who are struggling, try to avoid some of the things in life that we just don't want to deal with anymore. And going back to last week's episode where I talked about uh, intrusive thoughts and nightmares and flashbacks, we use avoidance behaviors to try to avoid that kind of thing. And the most common avoidance behavior is taking drugs and alcohol to numb our emotions. If we can numb our emotions, then these things we think will not come back, and we can keep them at bay. But the reality is when we try to numb ourselves with drugs and alcohol, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And it causes us even more problems than we already have because we begin to act like somebody different than we've always been because of the influence of drugs and alcohol. Um, Another form of avoidance is maladaptive daydreaming, where we dream of life and how it could be much better, and you wish you were somewhere else, and so on and so forth. As I look back on my life, I remember now that this became a problem for me in first grade. Um, I'd be sitting in the classroom, didn't want to be there. I was afraid to leave home because it was I was struggling with um, worrying about family members leaving because my father was in and out of the house all the time, and my siblings had grown up and moved out, so I was afraid of being abandoned. So being anywhere else, I was afraid when I got home, nobody would be there. And so I'd be daydreaming, sitting in the classroom, looking out the window, thinking of where I'd rather be. I'd rather be home playing in the yard, in the woods, or whatever. So I was close to my family, and I was totally distracted. I could hear what was going on in the classroom, but I wasn't looking at the teacher. I was looking out the window, and uh, I found some years ago my report card from that year in the first quarter. That's what the teacher said: Leo daydreams too much, and that was the reality. And so that's been with me for a long time. Another avoidance behavior that we use is suppressing our emotions. If we pretend nothing happened, we hold it all down, we hold it all back, push it to the back of our mind, to keep our emotions in check so that nobody knows that we have issues. We try that really hard, but usually when you try to suppress emotions, guess what? They're going to come out eventually or some other way because you cannot suppress them. They don't go away. Those emotions that affect you because of your trauma are there, and they have to be dealt with, not suppressed. But we avoid that by suppressing them. Uh, Another one is isolating from others. That's something I've always done from a little kid on up. Um, always called myself an introvert, but that a big part of my being an introvert is I just don't want to have to deal with the world sometimes and deal with people and so on. And if I can have that isolated time, just me and no one else, I can calm down, reset, and prepare to face things. But at the same time, it's not healthy because I find myself missing out on a lot because I want that alone time. Another thing, avoiding eye contact. That's something that's not one of my issues because I learned a long time ago from my wife to look her in the eye and talk to her, and that has helped me a lot because she always made eye contact with me, and uh, so it became common for me to do that now, and I'm thankful for that. But one of the things I do as a minister, I do counsel other people, You might be saying, well, physician, heal thyself. And I'm working on it. But I do try to help others wherever I can. And one of the first things I see is whether or not somebody is looking me in the eye. And if they won't look me in the eye, or very rarely during the time we're talking, I know that they're dealing with trauma and they don't feel comfortable about themselves. They're afraid of what I might see in them if they look right at me, and so on. So this is one of the things that we do to avoid things is, avoiding eye contact. Another thing, making excuses to avoid social gatherings and leaving early. Well, I'm one of those people. If I can avoid big social gatherings, I'd rather do it. Or if I go, I want out of there as soon as I can. I'm one of those people who I just don't enjoy small talk. So uh, after a while, I just get stressed trying to do it all, and I want to leave. So there again, another symptom of our C-PTSD. And procrastination, that's a big one. Uh, that's something I've done all my life, is procrastinate. From the time I was a kid, I'd put off homework assignments, book reports, all that stuff, um, until the very last minute, and then work like crazy to get it done. And I still even do that in my adult life. And we can procrastinate in some very important tasks, and that's not really a good thing to do. And one of the problems I have is when it comes to taxes every year. I could get them done by the end of January when I got all my information, but uh, I usually wait till the day before or the day of taxes being due to get them done and send them in. Not a healthy way of doing that by any stretch of the imagination. And I tried this year, at the first of the year, told my wife, I got my W-2 in, I've got all the forms I need and everything. I should have this done in a couple of weeks and we should be all set. Didn't happen. I put it off and put it off and put it off, and I was doing it last minute again this year. So that's one of the things I need to work on with myself, is that's a symptom that's not beneficial to me or anybody else. Another thing that we do to avoid things, canceling plans last minute. You know, you're all excited to do something, you make plans with people to do it, and when the day comes to do it, can't do it. You cancel it. It's too stressful. You don't even want to do it. I remember one time when I was in high school. I went to an alternative high school, and we had a camping class. You could get credit for going camping because you do journaling and artwork and stuff while you're there. Anyway, the first camping trip was coming up, and I was excited to go because I knew where we were going. I'd hiked part of the trail before and all that, and I was all excited to go. But I got up in the morning and called the school and said, I can't come. I don't want to go. I just don't feel right about it. I'm not comfortable. And then time went by, and it was one of the teachers called back and said, "You sure you don't want to miss out on this? You're going to miss out on a lot if you don't come." And I changed my mind and I went. But I kept everybody waiting because of me and my C-PTSD. Had a great trip, enjoyed it very much. But that last minute, I just didn't want to do it. Didn't want to have to spend time with people I didn't know that well and all that kind of stuff. All right, next section here is negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. The things that we say to ourselves, or the things that we think about ourselves, the things that we believe about ourselves. Things like, I have no future. I will never get through this. Nothing good will ever happen to me. I'm never going to overcome my depression. There's no point in being alive. Any of these thoughts and beliefs sound familiar? Uh, I've dealt with these all my life because one of the things growing up, I was told by my mother, don't expect much out of life because of who and what you are and where you come from. You're not rich enough to go to college. You just get through school, graduate, get yourself a job somewhere. That's going to be your life. And I remember one time coming home from school excited about astronomy and the space program and all that stuff. And I told my mother about it, and she goes, "You can't do that. There's no way you can do that. I can't afford to send you to college. Then you have to go to officer school and all that stuff in the military before you can even get into the program if you make it. So that's a foolish dream to have. Well, needless to say, that hurt, and it was from that point on really that I began to think, you know what, I don't have a future of any greatness. Um, I don't think anything good's ever going to happen to me. And I started dealing with all this stuff, at a young age and all the way up through middle school, high school, and into adulthood, uh, and and believed all these things. Never imagined I would end up going to school to be a minister and being a minister, uh, because I was told that wasn't going to happen for me, but it did. Did not become an astronaut, obviously, but between my eyesight and size, that definitely wouldn't have happened anyway. But I wanted to share these things with you today so that if they're bothering you, understand there are others who are going through it too. You're not alone. When you have complex PTSD, you feel alone, but we're not alone. There's many others going through this, and that's why I'm doing these videos every week. As I learn and grow, I want to share it so that others can learn and grow too, that we can all heal, that we can enjoy the balance of our life, being who we were intended to be, not what we've been told we should be or aren't, or so on. So these are very serious things when you think of the negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. When you think, I have no future, I'll never get through this, nothing good will ever happen to me, I'm never going to overcome my depression, there's no point in being alive. And we know with military statistics, the number of soldiers who come back from war that take their own lives because of PTSD is 22 a day here in America. 22 people a day choose to take their lives because they see no future. They have no hope. And it should not be that way. Our government needs to help these people and treat them. And likewise, it happens to people with complex PTSD too. They get to the point where they believe there is no hope and there's no sense in going on, and they choose to end their lives. If you're thinking that way, please, please, please contact a suicide hotline, contact your minister, family, friends, whatever. Let them know where you're at so you can get the help that you need. Uh, you're worth the effort. We need you here. And never forget that. Hold on to that. We need you. You're needed by many people, whether you believe it or not. They need you and they want you here. Not to end on a sad note, but these are the realities. These avoidance behaviors uh, can lead us down a really dark path. We don't have to go down that path. We can choose to take a better path, and encourage you to do that. So that's what I wanted to share this week is, talking about our avoidance behaviors when we have C-PTSD, our negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. The reality is these things don't have to rule our lives. We can overcome them. And as time goes along, I'm going to share ways to overcome these things, share some books that I've read concerning this subject, and share some uh, resources where you can find more help to heal in your journey here in this world. Well, I pray you all have a great week, and Lord willing, we'll be back together again next week. God bless and take care.